Hey Algebra 1, today we're talking about writing equations of lines. And so for that you'll need to know your y equals mx plus b slope-intercept form of the equation. And remember that your slope is that coefficient in front of x, the m, and your y-intercept is the constant number b. Let's take a look at our examples. So just looking at equation number 1, I see that my constant number is 7. That would be my y-intercept, that's called b. And then my coefficient of x is negative 1/3. So on that one we can just look at it. But on number 2, this is not in that format. So if I want to leave y where it is and subtract 8, I'll get 2y equals 2x minus 8. And then I can divide everything by 2. Don't forget to divide all your terms. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get 1x minus 4. So my slope is the 1, and then my b is the negative 4. Looking at this equation, I only just see a 10, and I don't see any x's. What that means is that there must have been a 0 in front of the x, which means that my slope is 0 and my y-intercept is 10. In fact, if you remember, this is a horizontal line. The y-intercept will be 10, and it'll just go straight across. Looking at the next few examples, we want to use the information to write an equation, so now we'll be writing this on our own. So y equals m is the slope, so that would be 3/5 x plus b. b is the negative 5, so plus a negative 5, or you could write 3/5 x minus 5 if you would rather do that. This time my y-intercept is 0, but I do have a slope, so y equals negative 17x, and you can write plus 0 if you want to, but you certainly don't have to. Number 6, I have a graph here to show you. So the first thing you might want to look for is your y-intercept. I always find that to be the easiest thing to look for first. So my b is going to be negative 1, and then next I need the slope. First of all, I notice that my slope must be positive, so let's keep that in mind. And if I travel up and over, I'll get positive 2 over 1. Remember that slope is always rise over run. And so 2 over 1, y equals, I can just call that 2, so 2x minus 1. Here's my horizontal line. It looks like my y-intercept is 2. My slope is 0, so it's just y equals 2. You won't even see an x there. At this time, you're going to do your checkpoint and enter in your answer, and then restart the video. Moving on, if you are not given a y-intercept, first we have to calculate the slope, and then we can figure out the y-intercept from there. I'll show you what I mean. On number 8, it looks like, I don't know, maybe 1.5. Who knows what that y-intercept is. But I can definitely tell you, if I find 2 points on this graph, 2 grid points, I can find the slope. It goes up 1 over 2. And so that would mean my slope is 1/2. And so I know part of my equation. I know it's 1/2 x, but I just don't know b. What you can do is take one of these points. Let's see, this one is the point 1, 2. We can actually plug that into x and y. So the y value is 2, the x value is 1, and I don't know b. Well, what's 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. And I subtract 1/2, I get b is 1.5 or 3/2. And so my equation, remember my slope was 1/2 x plus 1.5. Looking at just having the 2 points, I need to find my slope. So we're going to do the change in y. Most people like to start with that second y value, 7 minus 3, and then the change in x, 4 minus 2, and that will be 4 over 2. If I calculate that, I get 2. So 2 is my slope. Let me remind you, some of you learned a slope formula, the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. And that is your slope if you need that formula. Also, what they didn't give me is my y-intercept, so let's call that b again. I have 2 points to choose from. Let's just pick one of them. This is the x and that's the y. So the y is 3 and the x is 2. I still don't know b, but I can calculate 2 times 2 is 4, and then I can get b by itself, subtract 4, and I get b is negative 1. Remember my slope was 2, so y equals 2x minus 1. Here are a few special cases. If you try to find your slope on this one, 4 minus 5, negative 2 minus another negative 2, those two negatives become positive, and you actually get a 0 in your denominator. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but you can never divide by 0. What that means is that this slope is undefined, and so therefore this must be a vertical line. It is not a function. And the way you write the equation of a vertical line is just x equals. Now I want you to notice these x's are exactly the same. So that's another clue that this is going to be a vertical line. And what does the x equal? -2. And that's your equation. That's a special case. If you take a look at this set of points, the y values are the same this time. And so I know that my equation is going to be y equals -1. If you did go about finding your slope, you would say -1 minus -1 and -3 minus 3. The two negatives become positive. And this time I get a 0 in the numerator, the 0 on top. And you can divide by -6. You'll just get 0. And that's why you don't see any x's in your equation. Let's talk about some parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines always have the same slopes. Perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite and reciprocal. So what I mean by that, if one of our slopes is 1/2, if I do the opposite of that, it becomes negative, and if I do the reciprocal, it becomes 2. So let's take a look at number 12. I'm looking for the slopes, 7 and -7. So I have a slope of 7 and -7. Are those the same? No. Are they opposite reciprocal? Let's check that. They are opposite numbers, but they are not reciprocals, and so this one would be neither. For number 13, I noticed that the top slope is -3/2. The problem is with the bottom, I don't know what the slope is right away. What I need to do is solve for y, so let's get y by itself. -2x plus 12. Let's divide everything by -3. Two negatives make a positive, so I get y equals 2/3 x minus 4. So this slope is 2/3. So are they the same? No, so they can't be parallel. They are opposites. One's negative and one is positive. And look at the numbers. 3/2 became 2/3. They are reciprocals. So this one is going to be perpendicular. Take a look at number 14. We want to write the equation of the line passing through the given point. And first of all, we're going to make the line parallel, and then we're going to make the line perpendicular. So remember, parallel lines have the same slope. So let's use the slope 2/3. And when we write our equation, we're going to write y equals 2/3 x. The problem is I don't know my new y-intercept. I know this y-intercept is -4, but I don't know the y-intercept of the line I'm supposed to write. I do know that it goes through 6, 7, and so I know an x and a y. Let's plug in the y, 7, and let's plug in the 6. If I calculate 2/3 times 6, I get 4. And b is 3, so my y-intercept is 3. So that equation is y equals 2/3 x plus 3. And now let's do the perpendicular. We need to change this slope. So I don't want to use the same slope. I want to flip it around, so I'm going to make it 3/2, and I need to do the opposite, so -3/2. Same process, let's use 6 and 7. So 7 equals -3/2 this time, times the 6. Plus b. 2 goes into 6 3 times. -3 times 3 is -9. If we add 9, we get b equals 16. And so that equation is y equals -3/2 x plus 16. This video is finished. It is time to do your checkpoint, and you can enter your answer. Have a great day.